Sting.
What makes a man a legend? Is it championships, longevity, or the feeling that fills an arena the moment he appears?
Sting.
He, I think, got in the business good 2 years before I did. I think he broke in like 1985, somewhere in there. What a run he had with WCW. I mean,
he may be the face of WCW when you think about it.
At times, definitely. Yeah. I mean, obviously they had some big stars, but I think, he's one of the cornerstones of that company. I don't think there was anybody in that company that was any bigger.
For Sting, greatness was never defined by how loudly he spoke or how often he explained himself. His power came from restraint. When the lights changed and his face appeared from the shadows, the reaction was immediate and instinctive. Crowds did not wait for a move. They leaned forward. They lowered their voices. They understood that something important was happening. Sting never followed the traditional blueprint of a wrestling megastar. He did not demand attention. He did not dominate through words. And yet, for decades, his presence carried a weight that could not be measured by titles alone. In an industry built on noise, he learned how to control silence.
When you thought about the WCW, you thought about Sting first.
Hugely important to their success.
Sting and Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig and Steve Borden, drove cross country and arrived at my house on Thanksgiving Day. I'll never forget Shaq literally looking down. I was on the second floor, but looking down as them walking up the sidewalk. Two of the biggest, I'm a junior in high school, skinny little basketball player, but they were two of the biggest guys that I'd ever laid eyes on. And I was just like, holy.
For years, one belief felt unbreakable. Sting would never step into a WWE ring, not because he lacked value, but because his identity belonged to a different world, a different war, a different code of loyalty.
50 years that I've been in the business, he'll be respected as one of the 10 best of all time. I put he and Steamboat on the same level as being two guys that are almost too nice to have been in our business.
If you were to make a Mount Rushmore of WCW, you would likely pick such wrestlers as Ric Flair, Hollywood Hogan, or even Goldberg. But perhaps sitting above all of them would be Sting. He's a legend in every sense of the word, one of the biggest stars in wrestling history, and has had, without a doubt, one of the most fascinating runs the business has ever seen.
Sting's greatest weapon was never speed, strength, or technical brilliance. It was control. More specifically, control of attention. In a business where everyone fought to be heard, he chose to disappear into stillness. And paradoxically, that made him impossible to ignore.
I mean, he's one of those kind of guys that when I first started was very cool and had a great locker room leadership role.
Early on in his career, he was a role model for his colleagues.
Let me just tell you something right now. Now tell him straight.
Okay, Sting is one heck of a guy, and I think that a lot of people could use him as a role model. Did you hear that, Sting? Yeah.
And then, one night, that certainty vanished. There was no long speech, no explanation, only a familiar figure standing in a place many believed he would never stand. That moment did not rewrite history, it forced people to rethink it.
Well, let me say right now, it's not Kevin Nash, because it's not Tom. It's Sting! It's Sting!
In the most successful period of wrestling, the late 90s, Sting was one of the most popular wrestlers. He defined the Attitude Era in his own way.
This was most visible during the Crow era, when he abandoned colorful entrances and loud music for shadows and distance. He didn't rush to the ring. He watched from above. He observed. He waited. That waiting changed the rhythm of the show. Matches slowed down. Wrestlers in the ring became uneasy. The audience followed that tension instinctively. Sting understood something rare. Mystery lasts longer than answers. By saying less, he allowed fans to project their own meaning onto him. To some, he was justice. To others, vengeance. To many, he was simply resistance against chaos. He did not need to clarify which one was correct.
First time we saw it, he's dropping out of the ceiling. It was like,
wow. Him being up in the rafters, which had never been done before, giving him that big ugly vulture hanging off his shoulder, which was creepy as hell.
He was quiet and mysterious. Didn't pick up a microphone, but spoke through his aura.
He didn't need to say anything. He could say more with a look than people could say in a 10-minute interview. Sting didn't need to talk. His actions spoke for him. And this was during an age where everybody could talk.
That kind of presence cannot be scripted easily. It requires discipline and restraint. It requires trusting the audience to stay with you even when you give them nothing on the surface. Sting trusted them, and they rewarded him with belief. Silence in his hands was not absence, it was authority. And that authority would eventually collide with a question fans carried for years. What happens when a figure built on mystery finally steps into WWE's spotlight?
While others have come and gone, I have stayed here. My blood, sweat, tears, passion, all to make this a better place. And all of it, life's work, almost all taken away because of one man, Sting.
For years, there was one image wrestling fans returned to again and again. Two figures standing across from each other in silence. No words, no explanation. Just presence meeting presence. Sting and The Undertaker. Not as rivals in a storyline, but as opposing forces of the same language.
Why didn't you and Sting ever have a match? Man, that would have been huge box office. It just didn't work out, and Vince didn't want it. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know what it was. He just didn't. He didn't feel it, and everybody else was like, two when he got there. The match would have been good, but I don't think it would have lived up to the expectations. I was way on the backside of what I was going to do when he got there.
The idea never needed promotion. It lived entirely in imagination. Both men had built careers on atmosphere rather than volume. Both understood how to slow time inside an arena, and both represented something their respective worlds rarely shared. Loyalty, consistency, restraint.
You need to know a fact about me, and the fact is that for 40 years I've never watched hardly anything that I've ever done. I see certain things, fans or family members or friends will send a video, a 2 or 3 minute clip of something, and I watch stuff like that, and I'm not saying I haven't seen like a whole match of mine, but it's rare. It is so rare. When I'm done, I take that hat off and go on with the next part of my life. So
it's crazy hearing you say that, but at the exact same time, I completely understand. And then the memories you have are not the memories of you watching it back, but the memories of you in the moment.
That was what made the possibility so powerful. It was not about wins or losses. It was about acknowledgement. Two icons recognizing each other without trying to outshine the moment. Fans did not want a match full of twists. They wanted a stare, a pause, a feeling that something sacred was happening. But wrestling history is filled with moments that make sense emotionally and fail practically. Timing slips, creative paths diverge, priorities change, and slowly, the dream remained a dream. Talked about, speculated on, never realized.
Sting, 9 weird facts you didn't know. 9. Flash Borden. Before he was Sting, his ring name was Flash. He only changed it because promoters thought Flash Borden sounded too much like Flash Gordon. 8. RoboCop saved him. In one of the weirdest moments in WCW history, Capital Combat 1990, Sting was rescued from a steel cage by RoboCop, who ripped the door off its hinges. 7. Scott Hall's idea. The iconic Crow character wasn't Sting's idea. Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, suggested Sting paint his face like Brandon Lee in The Crow. Sting had never even seen the movie. 6. He played God. A devout Christian, Sting starred in the 2010 faith-based movie The Encounter. He played a mysterious diner owner who was revealed to be Jesus. 5. The Mask Inception. He pulled off a legendary prank where he attacked his enemies by disguising himself as a fan, wearing a Sting mask. He was Sting, wearing a mask of Sting. 4. 18 months of silence. During his transformation into the Crow character to fight the NWO, he did not speak a single word on microphone or camera for over 1.5 years. 3. The musician trademark. Steve Borden, wrestler, owns the trademark for Sting on merchandise. Gordon Sumner, musician Sting, famously pays a nominal fee to use the name, as the wrestler owned the rights first. Number 2. The Rock, Fear. He refused to sign with WWE for 14 years after WCW died. He cited a segment where The Rock asked Booker T, "Who are you?" as proof WWE would disrespect his legacy. 1. The missing match. He is the only major WCW icon to join WWE and never wrestle The Undertaker. Despite both being employed at the same time in 2015, Vince McMahon never booked the dream match.
Sting understood this better than most. He knew that some ideas gain strength precisely because they never happen. By staying untouched, they avoid disappointment. They remain pure, untested, untarnished. When Sting finally arrived in WWE, the question resurfaced immediately. Not out loud, but in the air. People felt it. They waited for it. And when it became clear that the moment would never come, the disappointment was quiet rather than angry. Because deep down, fans sensed the truth. Some stories are powerful because they exist only once, in imagination. And with that realization, attention shifted to what Sting would actually do next. Not what he represented in theory, but what he could still create in reality. That reality waited on wrestling's biggest stage.
It's very important for each company to have an exclusive star like The Undertaker in WWE and Sting in WCW because those guys are the leaders. Everybody revolves around them.
When Sting finally stepped onto the Wrestlemania stage, it was not framed as a debut. It was framed as a reckoning. Not between two men, but between two philosophies. What followed felt less like a match and more like a statement written in symbols.
With some fierce kind of attitude coming from me, the Stinger.
Steve Borden calls himself a California guy. He grew up in Santa Clarita. He didn't care about wrestling as a child, but he always wanted to be like the muscular men he saw on TV. Bodybuilding became his passion, and he started taking
Everything in that ring meant something. The baseball bat was not a weapon, it was defiance. The sledgehammer was not just steel, it was authority. When the old factions emerged, it was not nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It was a visual reminder of where Sting came from and what he had chosen to represent all those years. The crowd understood this instinctively. The reaction was not built on anticipation of a winner, it was built on recognition. People were watching history acknowledge itself. For a brief moment, the industry stopped pretending eras were separate. Past and present stood in the same frame. Then came the ending.
He said, "Dad, what would you think if I said I wanted to become a professional wrestler?" And I said, "Get a haircut and a job."
The decision felt jarring to many, not because of pride or tribal loyalty, but because the story seemed to demand a different resolution. In wrestling, results can be forgiven when the feeling is right. This time, the feeling split the audience. The moment was powerful, the conclusion was restrained. But perhaps that tension was unavoidable. Sting had never been a man who bent reality to fit his needs. He stepped into WWE late, aware that the rules were already written. What mattered was not the hand raised, but the space he occupied while standing there.
I remember that when we went to the ring, we basically just stood there and laughed because we really didn't know many things to do. So we'd just do a few things in a gorilla press slam and that would be it.
1 in a million.
He was just natural, very gifted.
Sting's breakthrough came in a match against one of the biggest stars, the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
As the match ended, something subtle happened. The disappointment softened. What remained was gratitude. Wrestlemania had not rewritten Sting's legacy, it had acknowledged it. And sometimes, acknowledgement is the highest form of respect. Still, the body keeps its own record. And not long after the lights dimmed, Sting would be reminded that time always collects its debt.
The early Sting, the face-painted, blonde-haired flat top, I just saw this energetic, superhero-looking character kicking people's ass.
Unbelievable amount of charisma. Tremendous look. The girls loved him.
For most of his career, Sting trusted his body without questioning it. Pain was part of the job. Fatigue was something you worked through. That mindset had carried him across decades, through different eras, styles, and expectations. But there comes a moment when experience is no longer enough to protect you.
Sting was WCW.
They had some big stars, and he's one of the cornerstones. I don't think there was anybody in that company that was any bigger.
I just think Sting has a certain chemical, that he radiates out to people.
The night his neck failed him did not begin with fear. It began with confidence. Sting felt ready. The match flowed as planned. The crowd was with him. And then, in a single impact, everything changed. Sensation vanished. Control disappeared. His body stopped responding the way it always had. What followed was not panic, but instinct. Old school instinct. Finish the match. Get through it. Do the job. That reflex had been drilled into him long before safety protocols became common language. Wrestling taught him that responsibility came before self-preservation.
I think the hardest thing in this industry was always to be that pure good guy. The guy that is spit in the face and wipes it off, gets smacked and turns the other cheek.
The fans became smartened up and the fans started becoming rougher on the good guys. A lot of us reinvented ourselves and rolled with the shift, and Sting was one of them.
Colleagues describe Sting as very smart.
Inside the ring, time stretched. Every movement required negotiation. Every breath carried calculation. He tested his legs. He waited. He listened to his body while refusing to abandon the moment. To the audience, the match continued. Beneath the surface, something far more serious was unfolding. When he finally stepped through the curtain, the adrenaline faded. Reality took its place. Doctors confirmed what he already suspected. He had come dangerously close to losing far more than a match.
He wanted to change and grow.
Nothing's for sure.
I thought that was actually a pretty brilliant twist of his character.
Sting was suddenly fighting a silent battle. He no longer spoke a word. Instead of holding promos, he suddenly appeared in the rafters of the arena.
That moment forced a reckoning Sting could no longer delay. Not about pride, not about relevance, but about limits. His body had carried him long enough. It had given him every warning possible. This one could not be ignored. For a man who had mastered silence, the message was clear without words. It was time to stop asking how much more he could give and start deciding how he wanted to be remembered.
Wrestling is a passionate thing. You got to be passionate to be in it, especially for as long as you've been doing it. And people always say they can walk away, they retire, they're done. And I mean, at some point you have to, but like the roar of the crowds, the energy that you're around, are you going to miss that? And how will you fulfill that?
Anyone who would say that they would not miss that is a liar. So of course I'll miss that, but I'm never going to come back to wrestle again. I know that.
And so for everybody that still wants to take her Sting, that's not going to happen in WrestleMania 45, anything of that nature.
No.
Retirement did not arrive for Sting as a dramatic collapse. It arrived as clarity. After everything his body had endured, he understood that walking away was not surrender, it was control. And control had always defined him more than any championship ever could. Sting never chased the perfect farewell crafted by someone else. He waited for the right conditions, the right tone, the right respect. When he returned to the ring later in his career, it was not to prove endurance, but to pass something on. Experience, discipline, a way of carrying yourself when the spotlight fades. His final chapter was not built on domination, it was built on trust. Tag matches, protection, timing. Every appearance felt deliberate, every risk calculated. The goal was no longer to steal the moment, but to elevate it for others. When the last bell finally rang, there was no confusion about what people had witnessed. This was not a legend refusing to let go. It was a professional choosing how the story would end, on his terms, with dignity intact. Sting's legacy was never about being the loudest voice in the room. It was about presence, about restraint, about understanding that mystery can last longer than explanation. In an industry obsessed with visibility, he proved that absence can be just as powerful. Long after the lights go out, that feeling remains. The pause before the reaction, the hush before recognition. That is what makes a man a legend.